Hey everyone, today we have another psalm about the Messiah. Yahweh says to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet. Yahweh will extend your mighty scepter from Zion, saying, rule in the midst of your enemies. Yahweh has sworn and will not change his mind. You are a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. The Lord is at your right hand. He will crush kings on the day of his wrath. This is kind of an odd psalm, and it's especially confusing when you read it with the Lord said to my Lord, but that's why I translate it this way, where it's using God's name. So we have what the Lord God is doing for the Lord King. And again, we have to hear this first in its original context, that it's speaking about David and his descendants. And so it has a lot of notes about victory over earthly enemies. There's, again, kind of violent imagery that is a little surprising for us. Now, one of the things that's really interesting in Psalm 110 is that it also attributes priestly duties to the king. Now, typically everywhere else in the Hebrew Bible, those are kind of separate jobs, but not here. And so this became a really interesting psalm for people that were trying to figure out what the Messiah is going to do, what's he going to be like. It was a favorite psalm of the early Christians. It's one of the most quoted in the New Testament because it does invite this deeper reflection on Jesus' reign, what it means for him to be king and maybe also a priest. Now, as I noted yesterday with Psalm 2, Jesus does not and will not rule by violence. The enemies that he crushes are sin and death and the devil, not people who are under their power. And what does it mean for Jesus to be a priest? The book of Hebrews really loves this passage, verse 4. We're not talking about Melchizedek today, but it talks about, a priest's job is to be a mediator between us and God. And so Jesus is the perfect mediator. But I prefer to actually look at Jesus' own ministry to see the way that he redefines the priestly role, because it's radically different. Normally, a priest, what they would do is offer animal sacrifices for sin and take care of people's uncleanness. And sometimes very often that would mean excluding them from the community. And what we see in Jesus' ministry is that he creates cleanness on his own, and he restores people to community. We see that he offers forgiveness without any animal blood, and repeatedly states, as the prophets say, that God desires mercy, not sacrifice. So for Jesus to be a priest is to be a pastor. It's about caring and healing those who are crushed. And so if we are still continuing to wait for this kind of Messiah, even as we acknowledge that he's come before, what are we really looking for? What kind of rule are we hoping in? Are we ministering? Are we ruling or using our power the same way that our priest king does?